Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. My name is Cindy, and this is for January 25th. To my new subscribers, welcome. Thank you so much for being part of the Soulprint family. To the comments and the thumbs up, God knows I appreciate every single bit of it. Thank you, thank you. Private readings, information is in the drop box below, and I am currently booking mid-February. So, and the donors, of course. Oh my God, how could I forget the donors? You guys are amazing. Thank you so, so much. It humbles me. I say this every single time, but it absolutely humbles me. Thank you. All right, I want to take a look at Ivanka. I don't know if I've actually ever done a deep dive on Ivanka, but definitely it's time to do a deep dive on Ivanka. So I don't know those of you who may or may not have heard. There was this staged, event that she went to or participated in where she was handing out, boxes of food. Okay, so lineups of cars. There she is trotting around in her jeans and her little jacket with these boxes of foods. Nobody took them. Okay, people were rolling up the windows. They were saying no, thank you, because it was a publicity stunt for her, right? And these people are smart enough to go, I don't need to be kind of on camera while you're doing this nonsense, because of course, it was her dad who did everything in his power to kind of, you know, mess up school lunches and food stamps, et cetera, et cetera. And now she's traipsing around with, boxes of food and her little phony smile. So I'm sorry if I sound cynical, but she really frosts me. It didn't go well. She apparently got just roasted on social media, as did the company who partnered with her for this fiasco. So, obviously she realizes that things aren't going well for her. Maybe her name is getting a little muddied. And she is trying to, restore or salvage her reputation. Now, the thing is, it's been like 8 months or whatever. Nobody's heard a peep out of her. She tooted off to Miami to kind of build some big house or buy some big house. And she's been quiet until all of a sudden there's subpoenas and there's invitations from the January 6th committee. And all of a sudden she just has this overwhelming urge to hand out food. So I'm going to take a look at her. Yeah. So here we go. Okay. So come on down. I have a question. Here we go. Okay. For any of you who pay attention to stuff and are wondering, the ring I have on this finger is called a mystic topaz. It shifts and changes color. It's almost like iridescent. So that's what it is, in case you're wondering, because as I move my hands around, you're going to see that it shifts colors and it does all kinds of things. So if you're trying to figure out what it is, it's not going to be so easy. On this hand, I have a garnet, I believe. Okay, here we go. Ivanka. Let's find out how Ivanka's doing. I have my pendulum here, so maybe we'll do a few pendulum questions towards the end of the video. Thank you very much, by the way. Hold on here. I got to say this. Thank you very, very much, by the way, for all the feedback in terms of the timing, the lengths of the videos. I thought I was just getting persnickety in my old age, that I was just sort of getting testy about some of the really, really long videos that are being put out. And likewise, you guys commented about the collaborations, that are just a lot of chatter. So thank you, because this is what I do. This is how I do it. I cast no aspersions on how anybody else does it, but I just know personally what I will be drawn to and, what I feel comfortable doing. So, and listen, there are going to be times where I will do a whole bunch of videos that are like 20, 25 minutes long, and then you're going to get one that's 45 minutes. It just depends on the energy I'm reading or what's going on. But I'm going to really try to keep them somewhere around the half-hour point, that 30-minute point. Some of you give up after 15 minutes or 20 minutes. But at the point where I feel I said everything that I need to say and the cards have said everything they need to say, that's kind of when I shut it down. Okay, come on back down. Okay, so Ivanka, let's just take one look at Ivanka and see how Daddy's little girl is doing. Here we go. Tell me about Ivanka. Tell me about Ivanka. Tell me about Ivanka. You know, it's hard to know with her. You know, some people think that she has, you know, flipped and told, you know, these various investigations kind of what's going on quietly. Other people say she's never going to flip because, you know, she's Daddy's little girl and she doesn't want to suffer his wrath. So, what do we have here? So, we're starting off with the Empress. Okay, so this is the thing. It's very important to her that she present this image of this loving mother, this, you know, kind of, you know, wife that is just all consumed with taking care of her husband and her family and you know, and look at me, I'm just clever enough and I can also run businesses and I can, you know, be White House advisors and I just have it all together. This image is so important to her. There's not a whole lot about it. It's actually valid or true, but she works very, very hard to cultivate that image. And listen, make no mistake, the image she cultivates is very much a reflection of her father's belief structures around what women should do and be and have. Um, and anybody who has watched Melania or Ivanka over the last 4 or 5 years absolutely knows that, right? I mean, he dictates. And he has a very sort of old fashioned and antiquated idea about what a woman should be. And, you know, the thing is that he's certain, not only is he allowed to sort of indulge in this, but everybody around him accommodates it. Okay. I mean, that's a thing about her dad, right? Is like, it doesn't matter how crazy or insane what he thinks or says or does is everybody just nods their head and goes, yep, 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 you're absolutely brilliant. You're so smart. You're the smartest man in the room, blah, blah, blah. So it's hard to even know how much of this image that she projects is actually authentic. Like, if any of it is authentic, if that's actually really how she feels, or if she has sort of just gotten used to playing this role and it is only, you know, behind closed doors, literally, where she even lets a little bit of her true self out. Hard to know, but that's her thing. The problem is as winter moves into spring, there is going to be a real increase in pressure on her. There's going to be more coming out about money, more coming out about business practices. And she's going to have a very, very hard time kind of coming up with explanations. And don't kid yourself. I suspect she's going to try not to come up with any explanations. You know, if Eric pleaded the fifth 500 times in, I think it was the AG of New York investigation, um, she's going to, you know, do it 700 times or 800 times because God knows they're competitive in that family. So she's not going, at this point, anyways, with these four cards, what I'm seeing is I'm not necessarily sure that she's going to say a lot because the difference between her and Daddy is that Jared, at least I think to some degree, makes sure that she has better lawyers. Okay, because heaven knows Trump has terrible, terrible ones. Now, okay, I could be misspeaking, I could be wrong, but apparently, one of the lawyers that Trump has hired, um, I think this is for the Georgia situation. She is a lawyer for I believe it's a bowling alley, and she handles that company's or that corporation's legal needs. That I don't know, but and maybe she's a brilliant lawyer. But the reality is, if that's what you are doing, please tell me how you have the skills or the bandwidth to actually get up and argue a election interference charge. But he has what he has because he has such a horrendous reputation. She at least has some smart legal team. And so they're pretty much telling her to be quiet. This whole try to rehabilitate your image, let's go hand out food. That's coming from a legal strategy, a legal perspective. So they're trying to, I don't know, maybe try to turn her into a blonde Mother Teresa. I don't know, but I don't see that it's going to work for her. So she's going to continue to get sort of kind of bad news. And this is the thing. It actually feels as if, as I step into that energy, is that she's not handling it very well. Like she seems to be kind of very agitated and very snappish and snarly. She's not good at actually um, harnessing some of her emotions. She's very good at having a plastic face in public for short periods of time. But as soon as I can figure that's it. She may very end up having to walk away to some degree from the family line because it may be the only way to save herself. I mean, she literally has the Seven of Cups here and followed by the Ten of Swords. So she certainly seems to have a much more real, accurate, objective sense of kind of how much trouble she is in. Whereas, daddy doesn't. And, I don't know what to say about the two brothers. But it feels as if she is really, really starting to feel the pressure. And she's torn. You know what? She's looking at this and it's like this. Dad, okay, the fool, could absolutely destroy me. I could end up absolutely destitute. And make no mistake, there is not the kind of free willing money in that group of people as they would lead you to believe. But she understands that she understands the loyalty game with him. And she understands that, literally, I'm hearing the phrase, which side her bread is buttered on, right? She's not going to do, or she's going to minimize whatever she can so that she really, really doesn't antagonize him because she's actually afraid of being left out in the cold by him, of being rejected by him, of being cast aside. So in some ways, she's walking a very precarious ground. But the thing is, it's the death card. So the thing is, it's a misstep to categorize her as sort of some soft, gentle female who, maybe has lost her way. She is as ruthless as daddy. She learned on daddy's knee. And she is the female version of him, but instead of being orange, she is ghost white. So that's what you have there. So it's very interesting. She wants things to be delayed. She's trying to slow them down. So she's going to do, the normal family maneuvering, which is slow it down, drag it out, do whatever you can. But the thing is justice is coming for her. And I don't think actually she's going to end up being in a very good position. There's definitely loss. There's definitely sorrow. There is definitely a sense that, there might be a beginning for her, a new road for her to travel down somewhere in the future. But there's going to be significant loss. And I don't think it's just only going to be sort of loss of name or reputation. I think it's more than that. I think it is going to be corporate losses. There could very much be some estrangement from even family. Certainly, her New York friends have cut her out. I don't believe that she's getting a roaring welcome from the people in Florida. In fact, I think at some point I heard somebody was trying to prevent them from building or moving in or something. That I could be wrong on that, but it feels like she's definitely the social scenes, the core group of people, all of that stuff. She may very well end up having to move away from, walk away from, if she wants to get sort of any part of her own life back together. The life she now knows, that's ending, and the judgment is going to be harsh. Okay, so let's just quickly ask the pendulum if Ivanka is going to end up facing civil or criminal indictments, if she's going to be charged. And that's a yes. Okay. Let's see what else the cards would like to tell us. The money's going to dry up. And frankly, the money, the wealth, the status, the position, whatever it was that could protect her. And I'm not only talking about Daddy the Prez during those years, I'm talking about even beforehand. They were allowed to get away with a lot of stuff because they were so bombastic that and arrogant that, most people just decided it was easier to not push against them. But it's not going to work because she's going to find herself really without a lot of the resources, frankly, that she's grown up accustomed to. Harsh judgment coming for her. Yeah, you know what's going to bring her down? It's going to be the money, the business dealings, that kind of thing. And she's going to have some very difficult choices to make. But I think ultimately, because there is enough of her that is like her dad, it tends to make me feel that if it came right down to it, she would be as ruthless as he is about cutting out anybody who could bring her down. Yeah. So I actually think after the whole handing out boxes of food fiasco, I suspect that she is going to lay low again for a little while. She's not going to be able to do that very well, though, because there is so much pressure that is building and mounting. She is going to have a really, really hard spring, summer, 2022, 2023. She's in for a really, really rough road, and she is not going to be able to change the narrative. She is not going to get her message out. So, oops, there's the Tower and the Eight of Wands. So when things get moving, lordy, they're going to get moving really quickly. And you've got the Hierophant on all of this. So this is talking about the government, right? Big organizations that are coming after her, departments of justice, whether that is in the state of New York, in the city of New York, whether it is federal. But yeah, so let's just ask a few yes/no questions and see what we get. So is Ivanka going to accept the very polite invitation to attend the January 6th committee and answer questions? No, of course she's not. Is Jared and Ivanka's marriage going to be able to hold together over the next couple of years? Yeah, and I think part of the reason is because she is going to feel like the Kushner family give her some legitimacy and give her some significant protection. Is Ivanka ever, well, okay, it's like Ivanka likely to flip to protect herself from Daddy and his dealings. Okay, now it's getting a small yes. Okay. Are there going to be indictments that come just, well, with the family? Are there going to be indictments that actually come down on Donald Trump? Yes. And indictments either civil or federal on the boys, Eric and Don Jr. So yes. So it looks like those four primary members of the Trump family, are they all going to end up suffering some significant legal consequences for previous behavior and actions? Yes. And what I'm hearing is that they're all going to really, really get nailed on business stuff. Okay. And is there going to be trouble in terms of the ex-pres, in terms of charges about election interference and that kind of thing? Are those going to follow through? Yes. While I'm asking about that, I wanted to ask if so we now know that there were 7 states that sent in these phony electoral paperwork, giving the votes to Trump and Pence as opposed to Biden and Harris, who actually won the election. And now it comes out that that was sort of spearheaded by Rudy Giuliani. Are there going to be like federal investigations on the behaviors of most of those states? I'm getting a strong yes here. Okay, so it really does look like the people who signed those documentation, etc., they are going to be called to task. There's going to be federal investigations around that. Just because is Giuliani ever going to get his law license back? No, because it's currently suspended. I don't believe it has been stripped, but at this point, it's definitely suspended. Okay, so no, he's not going to get that. Okay, so that's sort of that on Ivanka. Now, I just want to take a quick look while I'm here. I want to take a quick look at the Supreme Court. Because in some ways that Supreme Court has now become Daddy's court. And I don't think that that former guy is actually the daddy. I think Mitch McConnell's the daddy in this case of that court. It is not a good situation. Although, you know what? I've been muttering and mumbling under my breath for a while now about Thomas Clarence. And I just don't see him on the bench. I see him leaving. And so what's that about? Maybe it has something to do with the paperwork, that he was the only one who said, no, it doesn't need to be released. Like, hello, constitutional law. So I want to just take a look at the Supreme Court and what the sort of resolution is. Like, how are they going to fix this problem? And the thing is we're now into a midterm year. And you know what? Mitch McConnell was very good at blocking Barack Obama about putting a judge in. And you know what? He's going to do the same thing again. So it's interesting how this is going to happen, because he's certainly going to try to block any nominees that get put up by Biden for the court, the Supreme Court especially. So let's just take a quick look at the Supreme Court of the United States and see if we can get a bit of a handle on what might be going on there. You know, I think a lot of Democrats are incredibly disappointed that things haven't just with a finger snap been corrected from all the damage that Trump did. Perhaps they don't understand the actual, I guess, rules of government about, the Senate and the House and how Congress works and, what happens when you really only have 50 seats. But there's a lot of disappointment, and I still maintain that that's going to dissipate, and there's going to, Biden's approval numbers are going to come up, and et cetera, et cetera. But I have to tell you, the Supreme Court is, in some ways, really muddying the water more than anything else, right? Because now they've got that really strong conservative group of people in there, man, and they're pushing through everything that they can push through. So I don't know. I think maybe it's going to be time for another big march on Washington or something. Come on down. All right, so let's just take a quick look at the Supreme Court, of the United States. There we go. Makeup of Supreme Court forward. Makeup of Supreme Court going forward. Makeup of Supreme Court going forward. This is just going to be a quick one. Let's see what we can find out. Okay, so it definitely is a hot topic. It is definitely something that really, honestly, it kind of gets both sides riled up. Oh, that reminds me. I saw I think it was a NBC poll, and it's early and we don't pay attention to polls, but it was a little startling because something like 61, I think, percent of Republicans were like really excited about the midterms and voting in them. And there was only something like 47% or something of Democrats that were really excited. The same poll before the last midterms, when who was in office, it was like 61% or 60% of Democrats who were really, really excited. So there's definitely this deterioration of people who are engaged or who are, I don't know, sort of maybe understanding. And listen, I'm not suggesting that that's the only reason things aren't going well. There were some miscalculations by Biden in terms of how bipartisan things could be, et cetera, et cetera. But, as a Canadian looking in, Democrats and independents better start getting really excited about the Biden administration, or there's going to be some significant challenges in the midterms. Remember, the pendulum will give you the answer about based on current energies. So just because it keeps saying, no, they're going to have more people in the Senate, you can't just go, oh, okay, then I don't have to worry about it. All right, here we go. Supreme Court. A lot of emotions riding on this thing, okay? You have, legal scholars who are very concerned literally about democracy because the Supreme Court just doesn't see, they want to, it feels very much as if the conservative wing just truly, truly wants to rewrite history. They want to erase everything that's been done in the last 40, 60 years that they just don't happen to approve of. And so there is a lot of stress and anxiety around the court itself. That the justices are feeling it, and the people sort of in those circles are really aware. There's like a ratcheting up, if you will, of tension and stress, anxiety, that kind of thing. This is interesting because it feels like somebody is going to start doing a bit more of a deep dive into the Supreme Court. And this looks like they're going to try to keep things hidden and quiet, but I'm going to go with reporters, news outlets, but somebody's going to start really digging deep on the justices and what's going on with the Supreme Court. And that could very well get a lot of people fired up because it feels as if it has become so unbalanced that things simply need to somehow change. So there are going to be people leaving. There are going to be 3 justices who are leaving. And that in and of itself is going to bring some sort of a balance, I guess, back to the court. Interesting. Let's ask the pendulum. So pendulum, November of 2022, November of this year, when the midterm elections are being held, is the Supreme Court going to have all of the current sitting justices in place? Are the current justices still going to be sitting in November of 2022? And that is a pretty significant no. So hold on here, because what I'm getting energetically is that it feels like one is going to leave due to health reasons or health concerns. It feels like one is going to leave to sort of, I'm literally, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a flash of, the Judge Trump who left the courts to stop an investigation. I see somebody leaving for that, somewhere around that. But I'm seeing 3. I'm seeing the number 3, that three of the justices that are sitting there are not going to be there. So that's really interesting. And that's going to restore some of the balance, okay? And it's going to kind of get things it's going to reduce the amount of trickery going on. It's going to reduce the amount of just harsh energy and harsh attitudes. I think if the Democrats have learned anything, they have learned that when they get kind of a more middle of the road leaning left Supreme Court, that there are things that they need to get pushed through, and more that they need to, I think the word is codify, some of the stuff that's out there already. And actually turn it into law, as opposed to this, well, it's always been that way. Because what's always been is not necessarily what is going to go forward. Okay, so that's kind of an interesting little peek there, that is. So that's what we know. We know that Daddy's little girl is in for a bit of a rough ride. And we know that Daddy's Supreme Court, it looks like it's going to be experiencing some significant shifts and changes. So that is what I know today. Thank you. I want to end this with just a funny little story. Canadians are going to totally appreciate this and completely understand it. It might baffle people in other parts of the world. Earlier today, my daughter showed me a video, just a short little video. It was filmed in Toronto. And apparently there was like this protest going on. Not a big protest, maybe 100, 150 people, whatever. It wasn't huge. So you could see all the protesters, and there was sort of like, they were almost like on a sidewalk area, and then there was like a fence and the road. Okay. And then what you see is the police pulling up. This, cop pulls up. He gets out of his car because obviously he needs to go talk to these protesters, whether he's trying to, control the crowd, or I don't know what he was doing, but he gets out of his car. And wisely, he doesn't walk into the protesters. He gets, he's trying to get like onto the road. That's my take on it, so that he can stand in front of the protesters with this fence. And he fell. And he can't get up. So what do you think happened? What do you think happened to the cop? Well, I'll tell you. all the protesters came moving towards him to help get him off the road. So, that is so Canadian, right? Like, even if we're protesting, we just can't leave somebody laying on the road injured. It's so Canadian. So I thought I would share that with you because I'm sure a few of you could really appreciate a giggle right about now. All right, my darlings, take good care. Thank you for the support of this channel. Take care, be well, and I will see you really soon. Bye-bye.